everyone, and welcome once again to the Healthy Living Podcast. I'm your host, Gina Horan. Today, we're going to pivot a little bit and talk about healthy finance, which is one of the pillars of healthy living. And to help us today, we have the lovely Ana Germeroth. You are the president and CEO of The Living Mortgage, and that's out of Mount Dora, correct?
It is, yes.
Well, welcome, Ana. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure, of course. Now, I would really love to talk about finance and mortgages, of course, which is scary for a lot of people. But let's start with your background. You have a really interesting backstory. You didn't grow up, or you weren't born here in the U.S. You came here as a kid, if I'm correct. Tell us about your story and how you came to the States.
So I was born in Romania during communism, and my parents, they had one goal, to legally immigrate to the United States. And legally was very important to them. My father was an aerospace engineer, so it was important that he continues that passion and that just his life in designing planes. So we were lucky enough to be able to get political asylum from Romania. And we actually, and I've never heard this, it's definitely not common, but my mom came over first and she was pregnant with my brother. Ended up being high risk. I mean, the moment she landed, it was just a nightmare for her, and she was by herself. So when she came, knowing she was coming under political asylum and she was the first, and being by herself, she barely spoke any English, and she was just, okay, one goal. I'm in the hospital, and I've got to just learn what these doctors are telling me. They didn't find her high risk status in Romania, even though she had gone to doctors, and we were well off in Romania. So it wasn't for the lack of medical care.
Correct. Now, what year was this, by the way?
This was in 1987 that she came.
Oh, I see. So it was in the thick of things. Over
Yes.
there. Yes.
So she came 1 year before about 2 years before the revolution. My brother was born that January 1988, so she came actually on her birthday in November. Oh. Yes, and my brother was born, and thankfully they both made it through just fine. And but we barely got a chance to talk to my mom while she was here. So in Romania, they would monitor your conversations. If you had a phone call come in from out of the country, they would listen in 100% of the time. So my parents, imagine having your wife, just across the world, and you're at home with your only child. You've never met your son. And then the government finds out that your wife is in the U.S. and she gave birth. And now the U.S. government did something that was unprecedented. They requested my father and I to be released and sent over from Romania.
Wow.
And
how old were you at this time?
I was 7 during this whole ordeal.
So you remember?
Yes.
Yes.
When we came in 89, I was 8 years old. We came 2 months before the Romanian Revolution. And when we left with just one suitcase because we were escorted, it was just get on a plane. The U.S. government has requested you to be sent to them. So we were terrified. I mean, I remember thinking as an 8-year-old going, oh my gosh, we're being escorted by, the communist police onto an airplane.
Wow.
So it definitely, I can't imagine from a parent's perspective. Now I've got, 4 kids of my own, 3 additional with my husband's children. And it makes me cry. There's a lot of emotion that, just talking about all that. But we came to the U.S. and my parents swore. They said, we're leaving all that behind and we are American. So for this country to have gone above and beyond to save our lives, we knew that it was just embracing this culture and embracing this life and making it better for those people that we interact with. Because at the end of the day, there were people that didn't know us that did so much for us. So my parents excelled. My mom became a registered nurse, and she took care of patients that had traumatic brain injuries. My dad ended up working for Boeing and designing airplanes. Actually, He still does to this day. He came out of retirement to go back to work at Boeing.
So that's why. So you ended up in Florida, I'm
Yes.
guessing, and then okay.
I ended up in Florida because of my own choice. Ironically enough, I had to have heat. Everybody laughs at me. I'm so tiny, so I'm like, if it drops below 70, I'm like, no. I need like sweaters, long pants. I can't handle it.
So you love Florida. Did you graduate? So did you end up growing up here and graduated from high school?
No. So we were in Michigan during a lot of my childhood, and then
so it's freezing there.
freezing. And I'm talking snow. I remember as a little kid walking through snow, and those parents that say, "Hey, I had to walk through like 2 feet of snow to get to school." Yes, I have done that. I've done that, and
That's a real story for you.
That is a real story for me. I remember walking to the bus stop and going, "Okay, the snow is coming up to my thighs. Like, this is crazy."
Okay.
So I make fun of my children now all the time because they have no idea what that actually means, and it's a legitimate thing for me. But we moved to Seattle when my dad got hired on at Boeing, and spent a lot of time there, and it's beautiful. It's unfortunately overcast all the time, so it's still too cold for me.
Yes.
And I made my way to Texas, and that was great. And that's where I had 3 out of 4 of my children, so that state is near and dear to my heart. But I would vacation to Florida probably twice a year for years. And I finally said, you know what? I'm in real estate and finance. I can just pick up and move. Like, what a concept. Like, I can actually do that. I've built this business where I can just shift it. And so I finally made it home. And that was, I remember my kids going, "Mom, what do you mean you made it home?" when we got here. I was like, "No, you don't understand the feeling. Like, I'm home. Lake County is home." So.
And so when exactly did you move? Did you move right to Mount Dora, or you been all over Lake County? Or
a little bit all over Lake County. I started in South Lake. So we moved to the Claremont-Groveland area.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
It is. And we were blessed to find a beautiful home. And it was just, it was an easy fit for us. And then I got remarried, and John is a North Lake boy. So I lost that argument real quick, and we immediately moved to North Lake. And I was like, okay, wait, this is a great area. I had never been. I mean, South Lake and North Lake, you would think it's
it's
totally
all beautiful.
Counties.
I mean, let's face it, you can't go wrong in any of the lakes.
No, you can't. So
let's transition. You started, so you already were a mortgage broker, and you were into real estate and finance. How did you start the Living Mortgage Group? Like, how did that come about? Because it's so beautifully, said, the living. It's like you're living, and then on your website you say, "I am the Living Mortgage Group," which gave me chills when I read that, because you can just tell, that you really mean it, and it seems like you do. So talk about how all of that. You get to Florida, you're in your beautiful marriage now, and you've got your extended blended family. Now what?
So now it was a transfer from one mortgage company to the other. And the more Jonathan and I kept talking, all I ever talk about is Florida living and what it means to live in Florida. So when I talk to my clients, especially from out of state or even here, I ask them what's important to them.
What does it mean? Let's start there.
So that's, it's my family. They always say, with the ones that are still in Romania, they go, "You live in the tropics, you live on vacation." I say, okay, it started honestly from that concept. This is Florida living. We are blessed to live here. Yes, we've got storms and hurricanes, and it's humid, and my hair never acts properly in the summer. But it's Florida living, and every state has its beauty. So the Living Mortgage Group stemmed from where we live. We live here. This is our life. And if we want to make our community better, if we want to help the next generation, then we've got to pour our heart and soul into wherever we live. So if it's in Georgia, then it's Georgia living, and let's strengthen that community. So for me, it's Florida living. So and then Lake County obviously has its own little niche. What would you say is Lake County living? Definite lakes. Oh my gosh. We're boating all the time, which was never a thing for me. And now this is Lake County. It is very family oriented, which I love, especially with all the kids that we have. It is very open to first-time home buyers, which is what's near and dear to my heart. When I do mortgages, that's the first one I jump at. The harder the loan, the harder the first-time home buyer situation. That's the one I love the most. But it's being able to get out there and enjoy nature. one thing we're blessed with in Lake County is we're Central Florida. So we get to either stay here and enjoy its beauty, or we get to drive an hour and a half to either coast and see the beautiful beaches of Florida. So.
Well, we're going to stop right there and take a quick break, Anna. But when we come back, we're going to have Anna talk about how I might be able to actually buy a house. What? When we come back on the Healthy Living Podcast, don't go anywhere.
Is pain or restricted range of motion keeping you on the sidelines? Get back in the game with expert orthopedic care from UF Health Medical Group Orthopedics. UF Health Medical Group Orthopedics provides robotic-assisted surgical joint repairs and replacements, post-operative care, and inpatient rehabilitation services, all close to home, right here in Lake and Sumter counties. And for those unexpected injuries, UF Health Medical Group Orthopedics offers convenient walk-in and same-day appointments. To learn more or to schedule an appointment with one of their specialists, call 352-323-5665.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Healthy Living Podcast. I'm Gina Horan, here with Ana Germeroth from the Living Mortgage Group. You're out of Mount Dora, so lovely Lake County. Okay, Anna, I'm going to put you to the test. You talked earlier about your passion being helping first-time home buyers, and you can tell, like, you just want to talk about it all the time. I can tell that it's very genuine. So let's just say I, at 58, single lady, never owned a house, at pretty decent credit. Talk to me about your plan for me.
So my first would be asking you, have you been renting? If you haven't been renting, then I would assume that you're living rent-free. So I want to have a path for you before you jump into a pre-approval. I'm sure you make enough money and you qualify on that aspect. But what about your day-to-day and how you spend your money? And can we analyze that? Are you going to be prepared for the mortgage, for rising insurance costs, for rising property taxes, and the what ifs?
Oh, you're putting me on a plan already, which I love. But I'm also a little scared because when you start talking about plans and money, my eyeballs start to go, ooh. So, and which most people, which is why you're here. Okay. Yes. So first of all, thank you. So you put me on a plan. Talk about that, like, specifically.
So first step, you'll fill out an application. We do a soft pull. So I don't ever want to hurt anybody's credit, at least not until you're in a contract to purchase. We're not touching that credit.
Okay.
So the soft pull won't affect it at all, but it shows me absolutely everything. Then we're going to look at what is truly your comfort zone for your monthly payment. What does it look like today as far as your comfort zone? And what would it look like a year from now if you have rising insurance costs and property taxes? So we look at that two-part figure and see where would you truly be comfortable. Are you okay if it rises an extra $100 a month or $200? In some instances, it could be $400 or $500 after a year of you living there. So if you are fine at, hypothetically, let's do a round number, $2,000 a month.
Okay.
I say, great. For the next 6 months, I want you to take $2,000 and you put it in a savings account.
We're so, like, for practice.
We're practicing paying your mortgage.
Okay, I love it. Okay.
And after you do that, I want you to take at least 10% of that and put it also in your savings account. This is for unforeseen incidentals. What if you need to call a plumber? How much is that going to cost? What if you need somebody to service your AC? You're a homeowner, right? So you are now responsible for all of that.
So you're like practicing owning a home with
Absolutely.
me. Like you're helping me along the way. Okay, keep going.
So during that 6 months, you and I are in constant contact. Usually this is every single week of me just being your new best friend. And I call you and I'm like, hey, how's it going? How are you feeling about this? Do you need to set aside money with each paycheck? Or are you good to just move one big chunk, like making your monthly mortgage payment? I've got people who go, hey, I love the idea of splitting my payment during each paycheck. Great.
Oh, you can do that.
You can, because so not when you make your mortgage payment, but I train you, and I hate to use that word.
Oh, no, I love it. Train away. That's good.
To put that amount in your savings account. And you know that with each paycheck, you're going to need to set aside this $500 that will equal your $2,000 if you're paid weekly. And you're prepared for your mortgage payment for the next month without having to go, oh my gosh, I overspent. I went on vacation and I swiped my debit card. You know, what happens then? Well, you've already prepared yourself. You can even get to where your bank just automatically moves that amount from your paycheck into a savings account. So I help you with all of that and getting your life situated for paying your mortgage payment.
Okay, so let's say I'm pretty responsible, which
Yes.
I am, and I'm by myself, so I don't have anybody depending on me, and I've been around the block a little bit, so I know if this is my life at my age,
Yes.
buying a house, I'm obviously very serious about it, and so I will, give up everything, all the goodies and fun and buying shoes or, the glass of wine or whatever. But talk to me about a couple in their mid-20s with a couple little kids who maybe have only rented for a year, or maybe they've been living with their folks and they don't know. This is like the first time they're ever having to be that disciplined. And also they have kids, so the money's just going out the door every day. What
Yep.
would you tell them?
It's the same thing. So we have to look at, can you afford it? What is your spending habit? So I'll dive in and be really invasive, especially if they're a younger couple and I see that money comes in, money comes out. Then we need to do a little bit of financial education without being too critical or judgmental. I mean,
It just requires discipline, let's face it.
It does, and we're in a position as mortgage brokers to provide that lesson. We don't need to just automatically say, hey, great, you make enough money, let's go buy a house and let's max out your debt to income. Why not? And over purchase. Let's make sure that you're going to be comfortable, and that sets the tone for that young couple to be fiscally responsible for the rest of their life. Let's train them to where they understand how to manage their money correctly and what's a necessity in purchases. I've met a lot of people that are just starting out, and like me, even at this point in my life, I will go to Starbucks so much. And then I look at the end of the month and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can single-handedly carry that Starbucks location just with the amount of coffee I get.
Right. When you add it up, you think, wow, I've spent $400 on Starbucks. And when it looks like $400, it looks like a bill almost.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
So I show them their spending habits, and go, hey, what if you do it this way? I know Starbucks is easy and maybe it tastes great. How about you do this? And just by giving them the option, it also allows them to not just gain more insight into their finances, but become a little bit more mature and understand, how can I take this money that I'm investing in Starbucks and maybe allow it to make more money for my family and my children's future? So then we start talking about, yes, you're a first-time home buyer. What are you going to do after you purchase that home? And you've got this beautiful home for your family where your kids are going to grow up in. Are you going to buy more properties to allow for passive income on rental properties or short-term rentals, or maybe investment purchases in land? So we start talking with our first-time home buyers right out the gate. And sometimes it's a lot of information, so I tend to just break it down. Each conversation, I have a different topic. Where are we at financially and where are we going to go from here? So I want you to succeed not just today in being a first-time home buyer, but maybe 10 years down the road where you own 10 properties. Great. How did you get there? And how are you going to set up your children to be financially successful as well?
So one of the scariest things I think for me is that finding someone who's actually going to care, because let's face it, you can't drive down the street without seeing 50 billboards and ads and so on. So it's kind of like, who do I pick? Who do I trust? And it seems to me that your approach is a little more on the trust side, where you do the work and you genuinely care. How important is it, to kind of care instead of just being I don't want to be a number. Nobody wants to be a number. Right. How passionate are you about that?
This is my daily life. So I started in finance because I've been in real estate. So let me backtrack. I've been in real estate since 1999. That's how I started. And being a realtor, it was about...
Wait, 1999, what were you like?
18.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I was like, what were you like, 15? Okay, so you got into this right out of high school?
Right out of high school.
Wow.
Yes. So I always laugh about it because my mom and my stepdad were like, Anna, I don't know what you're going to do with your life. Just try real estate for a little while. And until you figure out what you are passionate about, I was like, okay, great, I will. Never left. So I I have to thank for that. And at the same breath, I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys put me in here. Now I don't know anything but this. So,
Right.
yeah.
So you started in real estate,
Yes.
and then you decided to kind of up the game.
I transitioned and added the lending world to my knowledge base, because every lender that I would partner with for my clients, it was just about, well, they can get pre-approved for $400,000 and they're maxed out on their debt to income ratio. That's not financially responsible. So as I started arguing and saying, no, I want to pull my clients back from overspending, just because they're qualified doesn't mean that's the right fit for them. I was realizing that they were just pushing for more because they were making more money off of that. So I took this license and I learned this path just to bring people back more to reality and say, is this right for you? Because it's not about the money. Yes, great, I make money. This is my living. This is how I feed my children and I pay my bills. But at the end of the day, did I guide you correctly? Did I do what is the right thing as a human being and a member of this community in order to see you succeed? Because if you succeed, then I succeed. And it's just a snowball effect of, I sound sappy, but of just helping each other and doing better as people. So
yeah, that's not a bad thing, actually. And it's actually quite, illuminating, because again, a lot of people, especially, I mean, I get so bored when, people start talking about money. It's like, oh, wake up, so to have someone like you who is personable and not just throwing numbers at me, actually helps. And I'm curious, I've only understood this phenomenon through documentaries, but you were around in 2007 and 2008. And
Yes.
I've never owned property, like I said. So I was just kind of looking in at this craziness and going, what happened? So has there anything since then, because I guess there were a lot of weird mortgages happening. Mm-hmm. Has anything happened to alleviate people's anxiety of buying a home because that's all they think is a mortgage?
So unfortunately, during that time, the mortgage industry was not regulated. You could honestly just go and do a mortgage. You didn't need a license. You weren't monitored. You would just go work for a company, and you could have been a telemarketer yesterday, or you could have worked in a coffee shop. It doesn't matter. You could have done somebody's mortgage and had their private information, and unfortunately over pre-approved them, and then they would get into trouble. Now, on the other aspect, what also wasn't regulated was how much money the mortgage broker would make off of the deal. In some instances, they would charge as much as 10% in commission, which...
Is that a lot?
Oh my goodness.
I don't know.
So look at it from the average home price. Even during that time, let's say $150,000, they would charge you $15,000 in points up front to do your mortgage.
Wow.
And that's not saying what the lender would charge you. This is just your origination fee. So the CFPB stepped in, and we are now regulated. So
you're glad about that?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It took a lot of the uncertainty and a lot of the the lack of trust in mortgage brokers. It took all of that out. So now we go like realtors, and we have to do our CE classes. We have to make sure we're ethical. We are overly scrutinized, and it's great. It's unfortunately, yes, we submit a lot of reports, and we have to show proof of applications coming in. Why were they denied? We have to, we're maxed out on our commissions, which is awesome. And making sure that even the lenders that charge the points for your loan, which is to lower your rate. So the points have to do with where your rate is. And there's a lot of financial lingo, but at the end of the day, it's part of your closing costs. And you don't want to have to come up with a down payment and a huge amount of closing costs. The average person doesn't necessarily have that. And with the rising inflation, can you afford to put aside 8%, which is the typical down payment closing cost combo, towards buying a home? Are you able to do that when a lot of people are living paycheck to paycheck, or they're struggling to save a lot of money? You want that advocate there, which ironically is the CFPB, and they have stepped in to protect consumers. So what happened in 2007 isn't going to happen again, because we had an unregulated industry. And even our appraisers during that time were unregulated. We would get appraisers call us and say, what do you need this to appraise for, as realtors? And we would say, well, we need X amount. All right, well, I don't have comparables, but I'll make it work. that was the industry that led to that big downfall.
So you must be happy now because it gives you credibility and it helps, your people and it's really cuts out all that,
It does.
shenanigans.
It does. Yeah.
All right, Anna, we will take one more break. And when we come back, we're going to listen to and follow some of Anna's daily tricks and tips on how to save money and get through every day. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Are you ready for your future to take flight? Whether you're graduating high school or looking to level up, Lake Sumter State College offers affordable degrees and certificates that will punch your ticket to success in a rewarding career. Plus, with programs like Direct Connect to UCF, your opportunities with LSSC are endless. So, what are you waiting for? Join us in Leesburg, Claremont, Sumterville, Four Corners, or online. Learn more at lssc.edu.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Healthy Living Podcast. I'm still here with Ana Germeroth. And one last question sort of about how to help people in the pre-buying stage. A lot of people, especially younger buyers or maybe even second-time buyers, start to spend a little money on the toys and the things. What advice would you give them about, their spending habits and how to maybe curtail those or divvy it up or pivot?
It's almost like a do and don't list.
Okay.
So what do you want more? Do you want the toys or do you want the house? Do you want the nice car or do you want the house? What's more important? I've had potential home buyers, even first time or repeat, as you're saying, doesn't matter if it's their fifth house or it's about to be their first house, and pull their credit and you see payment plans on 3 different toys. If they got the side-by-side, the boat, the motorcycle, I'm like, well, is that important to you? And how important is it? So we have to have that discussion right up front with people, because just because they will qualify doesn't mean that, again, it's the right fit.
Does it help or hurt their credit? I'm not sure because I don't have any toys. I have a
So
car,
installment loans actually help credit.
Oh, okay.
Installment loans are great. If you want to build credit, get an installment loan. If you want to get approved for more credit, make sure you have an installment loan. So for instance, your car loan is an installment loan.
Oh, is it? Okay.
It is. And I tell people, you want to build that credit, what's the quickest way? So we'll even go and we'll fix borrowers' credit scores, and we can raise scores and help them out with that. But you can do it on your own over time. So having an installment loan that you pay on time, very important, timely payments, is very important to the way even the automated underwriting system looks at somebody's ability to own a home. Have you been making your payments timely? And how long have these accounts been open for? So for instance, if you purchased a vehicle when you were 18 years old and now it's 2 years later and you've been making timely payments, great. That's a great thing you did. During this time, did you also buy 3 or 4 more things? Well, it can still help your credit if it's installment, but it will also lower your buying power. So your purchase power goes down because we count those monthly payments against your debt to income.
Okay, now let's talk about credit scores because I have no clue at all. And I'm always like, wait a minute, I just paid off a credit card, but my score went down. Mm-hmm. And then I lived in a big city, so I didn't have a car for 15 years, right? So I thought, well, I have no debt, I have no car payment, my credit score must be through the roof. And it was like very average. And so talk to me about how I can build credit because I honestly don't know.
So if you don't use your credit score is going to be average or below average.
That seems very weird.
It is. It does. It's the opposite of the way it should be.
If you pay off your credit cards and you're being such a good citizen, you'd be like at 850 all the time, but that's not how it works, is it?
So I'm going to make this statement, but take it with the follow-up statement. Don't pay off your credit cards. Really, it comes down to don't pay them off in full. So if you've got $1,000 balance on there, don't pay off the whole $1,000. Pay off 98% of it. Leave $200, leave $100. That will hit your credit. And in doing that, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion say, oh, she's using her credit. She is going to be financially responsible, so your score goes up. You don't want to have the $1,000. That's not the way to go, but have a little bit of revolving debt. I will tell people if you open up a credit card in order to raise your score, put $10 on there and have it go over into the next month and report on your credit, then your score will go up. So there's a lot of training to do with people, first-time home buyers especially, or people who've had setbacks, if they've had a bankruptcy or if something has happened in their life where their credit score took a hit, or like in your situation where you thought, hey, I'm not using my credit, I'm not hurting myself, but in reality, it still hurt your credit score.
Yeah, I did not know that. So thank you. That's something that I'll definitely take home because I thought, oh, pay it all off. But okay, well, thank you for that. Now, Anna, we're going to hit the speed round of questions.
All right.
So there's some really great information on your website about things we can do, tips and tricks we can do every day to sort of either save money or help us along. So here's a good one. When is the best time to either buy or build or both a pool?
So that's a little bit of a loaded question.
Okay.
So to build it, the best time is obviously the non-rainy season. It's our drought season. So you want to actually be building it during the winter. However, prices go up on pool builders during the winter because everybody calls during that time. So they'll call the pool contractor right around August, September. It's been a hot summer. Everybody goes, okay, we've saved enough money. Let's build the pool, or I was able to get the loan or the home equity line of credit to build the pool. So they get overhired, for lack of a better term, during that time. And yes, it's the easiest time to build it because the rainfall, but you're going to spend more. So the goal is get your pool design probably around November, December, January.
Okay.
And then make sure your finances are in order. Pick your pool contractor around that same time, and they'll start or break ground usually about 2 to 3 months later, which is when they slow down too.
Okay.
So they'll slow down around May, June, July because it's hot. People are going on vacations. There's a lot of rainfall, so there's a lot for them to have to configure. It doesn't get built as fast, but you're likely to save more money.
Okay, that's a good one. What about, we live near the villages and there's a lot of, retirees or empty nesters. Mm-hmm. What do we do with our spare room, Anna?
So I am the fiscally minded one. So I will tell you, please rent it out. I mean, there's so many snowbirds that come.
Wait, rent out the whole house? Or
no,
just
the spare room. It's a great thing to do. So it's a way of also offsetting your costs, especially you're talking villages. So you're talking HOA fees, just the cost of living at that age group is astronomical compared to what Social Security is and what retirement is. If you are able to rent out that spare bedroom, it's an income. It's this added finance that comes in. You can do the fun stuff too, so it can be set aside for grandkids. I mean,
yeah.
It can be a great crafts room, but I want to help people even in their golden years make a little bit more money.
So do you help them also find that perfect roommate? Because that must be the challenge.
So that is on our real estate side too. So because I own a real estate brokerage and mortgage brokerage, we tend to help from both sides. And yes, so we do assist with finding the short-term renter that will come in. Obviously, that homeowner is going to pick and choose who their best fit. A lot of times, though, they don't even ask for our help. If it's the villages, they already know somebody, or somebody's family member comes into town, or whatever the case is. But that's a great way of having just a little bit of extra cash.
And then finally, we talked a lot about first-time home buyers and maybe second-time, but talk a little bit about, property that you want to rent out. So you want to buy a second home to rent out, or a lake house, or there's so many lake houses around here. What about that second property that people want to invest in?
So there's two ways of doing it. You can purchase a second property as your second home, as a vacation home, but that one hits your debt to income. So we will have to qualify you on you being able to carry your primary home and your second home. The best way is doing a DSCR loan, and those are investment property loans. You will place 10% down to purchase it. However, it doesn't count against your debt to income. We look at the potential rental value. And if that rental value comes in at your mortgage amount that you owe every month, it completely offsets. So it doesn't hurt your ability to purchase more properties. As long as you have that 10% down, you can buy multiple properties. And we've had clients do that to where they do it once a year. They'll buy another rental property. And the goal while we work with them is saying, okay, if you're going to save 10% per year, how are you going to do that?
Do you ever help people flip houses? Or
we do.
Okay.
So we've got flip loans. We've got private lenders that we work with. We have construction loans to help people actually build and resell. And that's where we opened up a construction company too, because we saw the need for that as well. So I tend to be a little bit of a workaholic, and if I can add more value to somebody's life, I will. And if I saw a need, I will want to fill it. But for instance, fix and flip properties, they're going to be coming up and being more prevalent in our market over the next few years, as people, unfortunately, since they overbought the last few years, will tend to lose their home or have to sell. Then with the market, the way it's kind of dipping down a little bit and property values coming down a little bit, then they lose their value and they may have to short sale their home, where that flip property will come into play as well. But we have loans for those and to rehab and to help sell. And
well, it's like a one-stop shop, Ana Germeroth.
yeah.
Well, Ana, it's been a hoot. Can you please tell us tell people how to get a hold of you? I know that you don't mind when people try to get a hold of you.
No.
So where can we find you?
So I actually don't have a business phone number. I believe that people should text and reach me whenever they need me. So it's my cell phone. It's my personal line. I know it's a little scary for some, but my number is 813-895-0118.
Awesome. And we can also go to the website,
Yes.
the Living Mortgage Group.
It is livingmg.com. We try to keep it simple, but it stands for Living Mortgage Group.
Well, thank you so much. I learned so much today, I'm telling you, because I have no clue about half the stuff you said, but now I'm a little wiser, and I hope our audience as well. That's another edition of the Healthy Living Podcast. We'll see you next time.